A country with a recent history so entwined with my own, yet I didn't understand much about Vietnam. Exploring the country, I began to understand more through the stories of the people I encountered. The 108-year-old man who has lived through 3 wars. The little girl helping her mom with the cows. Or the mother working hard to provide a better life for her children. Stories of resilience, of ingenuity and warmth. Stories of a diverse country looking forward with a hopeful future. I learned of the 54 different ethnic groups and the beautiful and intriguing diversity of the cultures in Vietnam. It wasn't long after I arrived that I met Nguyen Thi Yen Trinh, and together we set out to discover Vietnam and learn more about these 54 ethnic groups. With a shared love of the country and all of the ethnic diversity, we began documenting the people and their cultures, working with an aim to share these stories with the world.
Hello and welcome to Talk Vietnam, a travel and portrait photographer from Los Angeles, California, with a decade of experience in film and TV. Alden Anderson received an Emmy for his work in the industry. However, he left a successful career in Hollywood to travel the world. And after a few years of traveling, he settled in Hội An, Vietnam. Currently, Alden is working on a culture and story-driven photography project of documenting the 54 ethnic groups of Vietnam. So let's join us in this episode of Talk Vietnam to learn more about Vietnam through Alden's lens. Hello, Alden, and welcome to Talk Vietnam.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Thank you for joining us from California. Now, let's talk about the story-driven cultural photography project that you and your partner, Trinh Nguyen, are now pursuing. How far have you gone with this project?
So far we've had the honor of meeting 43 of the 54 officially registered ethnic groups in Vietnam. We've traveled all across Vietnam from the south in Chao Dat, where we met the ethnic groups down there, the Cham and the Khmer, all the way up to the north, Lai Chau. In Hazan and Lai Chau, where we met the La La Hu, the Cong, the Mang, the Si La, and many other ethnic groups all across Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. So when did you first come up with the idea of documenting 54 ethnic groups in Vietnam?
So my partner on this project, Trinh, she's from Kon Tum in the Central Highlands, and she grew up in proximity to some of the ethnic groups there. And before I met Trinh in 2018, I was traveling around kind of on my own in Vietnam, and I met some of the ethnic groups on my own. So then when we met each other, it was kind of, we had this shared passion for documenting the ethnic groups, and that was in like the summer of 2018. And so then we decided to kind of work together and, go around Vietnam and document and meet all these different ethnic groups. I didn't really come to Vietnam per se to learn about the ethnic groups. I was just traveling. But then when I was here, I met some of the ethnic groups here, and then I just learned about, all of these fascinating cultures here. And that was one of the big things that's kept me in Vietnam. And it's a constant source of fascination for me. At first, it was more about kind of learning about the people. I did do some photos and portraits, but it was, I was more curious about the cultures. Just like talking to people and learning about their histories and stuff.
So Alden, so it's actually the people that caught your attention first, right? And then by talking to the people, then you wanted to know more about their culture. Am I right?
Yeah, It started, I was just very curious about the people that I saw, mostly farmers working in the countryside. Um, I remember I was driving through the Central Highlands. I believe it was in Yalai province. I was driving down the road and there's all these, and all in front of the houses, there's like all these, this like black, I found out it was pepper. It's like a big pepper growing area. So I just like stopped my motorcycle and just walked over to someone's house, and they were just like so like fascinated with me as much as I was fascinated with them. And like this young guy like came over, brought me a chair, gave me a cup of water, and like he was like very friendly, very warm and welcoming. I found that everywhere I went all over Vietnam, and that to me was just, it's such a beautiful, very human, experience.
Right.
So we've been driving for a few hours now. We're looking for the village where the Ma people are. This is kind of how it goes sometimes. We have an idea of the area where an ethnic group is, but we don't know the exact village because there's many villages around the town.
Từ đây qua Đà Lạt sao? Rồi đi đường sau đây, đi vườn quốc gia Cát Tiên đây này.
So after going to the church, we met a man who showed us to this Ma village. We're here in the village now, and just talking to some people, seeing if we can locate somebody who has the traditional white hand-woven fabric shirt.
So you came to Vietnam, and actually you spent 2 years, right, in Vietnam, traveling around. So how was that? Tell me more about your journey here in Vietnam. You just looked at the map and then you choose the location where you wanted to go, or how did you choose the places that you want to visit and then took photos of people of that ethnic groups in that particular space?
Yeah, so when I first came to Vietnam, I was just kind of wandering and exploring, just like literally just like following my heart. And then later on, and it was kind of determined more by where the ethnic groups are located. So Trin and I would go to specific areas and try to discover these specific ethnic groups. So then it was more kind of location focused, and we had an idea of where we wanted to go, and it was more specific after that.
Yeah. So now, after many years of documenting and researching about ethnic groups in Vietnam, so you are now an expert. So please share with us some of your most interesting discoveries about them so far.
So the first thing I realized as Trin and I started doing this project is just the sheer ethnic diversity of Vietnam. Vietnam is a country that is smaller than my state, California, yet the ethnic diversity is so vast. There's 54 primary ethnic groups, but actually I counted the subgroups, and I don't think it's all of them, but I counted 207. So you have over 200 different cultures in Vietnam, and that comprises 109 different languages. And Vietnam, so there's 5 language families. That's usually how you determine like cultural, ethnic cultures are grouped into language families, because that shows a shared culture and history. So there's 5 language groups in Southeast Asia. You have Austroasiatic, Sino-Tibetan, Thai Kadai, Hmong Mien, and Austronesian, and Vietnam has all of them. It's just so diverse, and that to me is there's so much here. There's so much culture and so many different nuances to all these different cultures that it's just like an endless source of fascination for me. And that is, you know, one of the things that's just so amazing about Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. So now we will talk about your photos of the elderly men, women, and couples. I saw many elderly women and men in your photos. Many are aged over 100 years old. So how could you find them? There's just so many special characters of your photography project. So how did you find them?
So first of all, I love talking to older people, and I think they have so much, they've lived through so much. And in Vietnam, some cases people have lived through 3 wars. They have all of this experience and wisdom. And so to me, these people are, and they hold so much culture. I love old people and I love interacting with them. And so that is one of the things that Trin and I would kind of seek out, is the oldest people. And it's really, we would just go on the back of our, you know, on the motorcycle and just drive around and just talk to people and be like, hey, do you know anybody, you know, who's the oldest person in your village? And then they'd, you know, show us down, you know, one part of the village, and then we drive to the next village. And then like, you know, it was just like, just discovery, you know, it's just kind of going and learning and talking to people. They're all these beautiful experiences, and I treasure all of them. It's very meaningful.
Right. And old people, they are like a dictionary, and you don't know, you know, how long, how many years more that they are still here with us, right? So it's a good thing to go and talk to them. So have you seen anything in common among the elderly of different ethnic groups?
We do ask people, like, why do you live long? But it's funny, asking somebody like how they've lived to 100, you know, you get answers like, I just, like this one woman, her name was Anhen. She's 100 years old. She's from the Jarai ethnic group. And we just met her, we met her brother, and I believe he's in his 80s. And he's like, oh, you have to meet my sister. So we go into this little, like, little house with just, you know, like a pretty empty with a little fire. And she's just like sitting there by the fire, and just like lights up like a light bulb. It's so bright, so happy, and such a wonderful woman. And she's just like, she's just so happy to see somebody. And so when we asked her how she lived, or how she's lived so long, she says, I eat my rice. And we found out after, by talking to her brother, that her grandfather lived to, they don't know how long he lived, but he had 7 wives. And the reason why is because he would have to get remarried after each one of his wives passed.
Wow.
So yeah, so these were the children of his 3rd wife, the grandchildren, and their mom lived to 120.
Wow.
So in this case, there's like some pretty good genetics there. But I think in general, something I've seen just as an outside observer is these people are all living, first of all, they were born in a time that was, you know, they're living off the land, and they live relatively simple, stress-free lives, and they're always active. They're always like working or doing things. So it's this one woman we met. Her name is Cam Pra. She's 92 years old from the Taoi ethnic group, living in Alue in Hue province. And we asked her like how she lived so long, and she said she goes to the forest every day. She grows vegetables. You know, at 92, she's like going out and being active. So yeah, I think that, you know, staying active and living the kind of a more simple life.
Yeah, fascinating stories, and there are so many lessons learned from the elderly that you met. So how did the people you met and their stories inspired you during the journey of discovering Vietnam?
We met this girl, her name is Catch. She's from the Bana ethnic group in Kontum, and she's 9, and her dad passed away. So she's very sad, but she kind of channels that to helping her mom. She loves her mom and her family so much, and she's always helping her mom, and she wants to do as much as she can to help her mom. And, you know, we came back to see her, and she had just come home from bringing the cows home for her mom, helping her mom. So just, you know, such a simple, I mean, such a young girl, and just, you know, it's kind of an inspiration to see these people, you know, things that they've gone through, young and old, and, you know, they're always, they keep going, and that's inspiring. Another man we met, his name was Hien. We met him in Hội An, and he lost his 4 brothers during the war, and his mom and his dad, and so he was the only one left, and he was sad, but he figured, like, how can I go through life being sad, and I can't, you know, let this affect me. So he's like, he tries to stay positive, and now he has a beautiful family, a very big family, and, you know, I feel like that is kind of one of the sentiments that I feel is echoed in so many people I've met in Vietnam that have been through, you know, hard times. People young and old, they just keep going, and they try to, you know, they're very resilient. So it's a beautiful thing, and it's something that I think is very touching to me about Vietnam.
So what do you think is the most rewarding moment for you when doing your project?
I do really love to go back and deliver photos to the people, because it's kind of my way of doing something for them that's very meaningful. You know, there was this man we met, his name is Glenn. He's in his 90s, from the Jarai ethnic group in Kontum. And this was one of the people when we met. We were looking for the oldest person, and we met him. And then when we returned to see him, I just walked up to him with his photo, and just to see his reaction, he just looked at it and like laughed, and it just made him so happy. And that in turn just makes me so happy. So it was just, yeah, you know, it was a very beautiful experience. And for a lot of these people that we've met, it's their first time they've had their photo. And that's pretty awesome. I think that's pretty rewarding for me to see them like value this thing.
We're here in Lam Dong province in the Central Highlands of Vietnam, and a few days ago we met a woman. She was born in 1921, so she's 99 years old. Her name is Jang, Grandma Jang. And when we met her, she was repairing her shoe, very old shoes, in front of her house. So We're going back to see her today, surprising her. We got her a little care package here, including a new pair of shoes, lots of goodies here.
So how do people often react when they receive the photos and presents from you and your partner, Jing? And so is there any touching story to share?
This one man, he's over 100 years old. His name is Ken. We met him in Hội An, and he would always sit outside his house every day and just kind of hang out and drink tea with his cousin. And I took his photo, we sat down with him, kind of had tea, and I took a picture of him. And then shortly after that, we came back and we gave him the photo, and he really appreciated it. And then a little while later, I walked by his house and he wasn't there anymore. But the photo was hanging on the wall right where he used to sit. And then shortly after that, one of his family members reached out to us and told us that he had passed. So, and then they were having the funeral service for him in his house. So Trin and I went to his house and, paid our respects. And the photo was there on the altar for his family, which to me was very touching and very meaningful that, we could give them something that would, live on and for his descendants. I think it was just a beautiful thing.
You've traveled throughout Vietnam and photographing so far 43 ethnic groups. You might have come across some provoking contrast, right? If so, please enlighten us.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things in Vietnam, and this is something that is going away in the world, and I don't know for how much longer we'll have this. These people, they were born in the forest. This one woman we met, her name was Loy. She was from the So Dang ethnic group, and she was telling, when Trin and I went to talk to her, she was telling us that when she was young, she just wore a loincloth, and when she had her baby, she wrapped her baby in a blanket made from tree bark. And she lived in a bamboo house, and they went to the forest to hunt with crossbows. And 2 to 3 days after her baby was born, she would put her baby on her back and go and work. And they were semi-nomadic, and they didn't have any technology. They didn't even have metal. Their kind of most advanced thing for her and her village was clay pots, and they would bake water in these clay pots, and she still has one that's 100 years old. So, you have these people who were born in a world that is so ancient and so close to the land, and then they've through their life, they've basically been introduced to this modern digital age. And that to me is so fascinating. So these people who lived in this time period, and now they have, there's like cell phones going around and kind of, motorbikes. And so it's just so fascinating to me to see that contrast and talk to these people about the past and how they lived, and then to see kind of the modern world intermixed with that, because they still hold on to this culture, and in many examples they still build things the way they did in the past, and with the bana or the sodang, and they have the gourds they used to store water in, or the clay pots that they ferment the cassava alcohol in. And so there's a lot of these things that are still passed on. And so you have this very interesting contrast of very old, like technologically 2,000 to 3,000 years old for the Western world, and then modern digital age, and this interaction of that. And it's very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. And it's also very interesting to us to know all about that thanks to your photography. Alongside the Vietnam People photography project, you also did the Hội An flood collection. So how do the Hội An flood photos reveal about Vietnamese people?
Yeah, so in Hoi An, the river floods every year it kind of rises, and then every few years it'll flood like a lot more, because the Tu Bon River just basically extends into Hoi An Old Town. And the people, they totally just take it in stride. Like I took this picture of this a young man. His name is Ben, and he was just playing in the water, which I loved, like a little kid, just like. And I took a photo of him. He was like holding a broom, and I started taking pictures of him. I couldn't talk to him much, but then he just like posed with his broom, and I loved it. The image is very like. Like
and the level of water is
of,
like up here, right? During the flood.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, when I was in the water, you can go. I mean, it's up to my chin. I had to hold my camera above my head.
Wow.
So when everything died down, I went and saw Ben again, and he found out he's this kid from Ninh Bình, and he came to Hoi An to start a coffee shop. And we were asking him about the flood and how it's affected things, and he said, like, I'm Vietnamese. There's bad things that happen. We can't get stuck on them. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he's like, we can't get stuck on them. We have to, face it and, kind of look at it with a smile and just keep going, and things will get better.
So that positivity and that belief in the future, it's definitely what is so admirable about Vietnamese people, right?
Yeah, it's a very common thread through like all over Vietnam.
Hội An is where you lived in Vietnam, and before returning home to the U.S. amid the COVID-19 pandemic. So it is in Hội An that you took street photography and had many interesting encounters. Share with us some, if you don't mind.
When Trin and I would walk around town, I would photograph people just like in their daily life. And this one woman that we met, or I photographed, she was just walking with her, you call it the dangan?
Mm-hmm.
The dangan, the bamboo pole, dangan with her non la.
Yeah.
I'm pronouncing my Vietnamese.
Is correct, non la and dangan, yes.
Non la and dangan. So she's like, every morning she would be just coming through Hoi An, and so I took this photo of her, you know, from across the Tu Bon River from An Hoi Island. And then one day, Trin and I were like, what's up with this woman? Like, what's her story? We want to know about her. So we went to the market and we had printed a photo for her, and her name is Ha, and makes what I have come to know as the best mi wan in all of Quang Nam province and probably all of Vietnam. She's a rice farmer, but every morning she comes into Hoi An, and with her little, like, I call it like a mobile restaurant, like on her shoulder, the dangan. And it's so fascinating to me. They just like come with their whole setup, and it's just like so innovative. And within like 10 minutes, she's got the little red stools set up, and like, you know, all the sauces, and it's you know, just sitting there and talking to her and just like eating the mi wan and like learning about her life and how she learned to make mi wan and like, you know, these things. So then to me, the street photography became so much more meaningful, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a really human moment, and, you know, seeing them, how happy they are, and learning about them.
It's beautiful, and with so many people that you met, you have built like a mosaic, right? Like a portfolio of everyday life in Vietnam, and we love that. So through the photos you've documented, what do you want to tell the world about Vietnam, its land and its people?
Vietnam is such an incredibly diverse place, very diverse culturally. And there's so much to discover. And everywhere you go, there's a slightly different culture, you know, from the ethnic groups to, you know, the different villages. But the kind of the main thread is how welcoming the people are. And I think for me, the more I've discovered about Vietnam, you know, Trin and I have met 43 of the 54 ethnic groups, and the more I meet people, the more I learn, the more I just want to stay, the more I want to like meet more people and learn more stories and like just discover more of the country. The north of Vietnam is such a beautiful place, the mountains, and you have these little pockets of ethnic groups that are so different from each other. And the way that they work and live, and just so many of them that we've met are just like such happy people, and have these like very, very rich cultures that I think needs to be known and celebrated, and you know, and beautiful landscapes in the north. It's so beautiful. And there's certain places that I haven't even been yet because we've been so focused on meeting these different ethnic groups. You know, there's certain places I haven't even been that are, you know, that are beautifully amazing places as I've seen photos of. So there is just so much to discover here and so much to learn. And I think people, if they just open their heart and come and explore and talk to people and you know, just come and experience the cultures, I think, you know, they'll come away a changed person, and hopefully a better person. And
So what keeps you motivated capturing pictures about Vietnam?
It's because, like, as I mentioned, the more that I see and learn, okay, I'll give you an example. The Hani ethnic group, oh my God, like they have these houses that are, this man told me, he says that they're the only ethnic group that has a four-sided roof. And so these houses, they're made of mud from the earth, compacted mud. And they have these like really cool little roofs. And so they call them like mushroom houses because they look like little mushrooms.
Yeah.
And they only have like one door. Because I asked him why, you know, when Trin and I were talking to him, it's like, why do they only have one door? It's like, oh, because, you know, in the past, when there was predators, they would come in. And also in the winter, it's very cold. It snows up there. So then, you know, they have one door. So keep the cold out. And so just all these, you know, things like that. It's just, you know, there's all these different fascinating things about these cultures that is just a constant source of inspiration for me.
Right. So now let's talk about your future plans. What is your, can you tell us some of your future plans for your Vietnam, the People photography project and other projects, if any?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to coming back to Vietnam. I guess the most immediate thing would be to meet the other, you know, the rest of the ethnic groups. I would love to get to know more of the subgroups as well. There are many people that I would like to go back and see, and, you know, check on and, you know, give them a photo and just learn about their life or help them in ways that I can. Trin and I want to go back and see like all these people we've met and then meet, you know, more people. So, but in terms of kind of a milestone, I think just meeting kind of a representative from the rest of the ethnic groups we haven't met, and then learning all the nuances of these other cultures and just documenting these stories of the people. And I mean, hopefully sharing it with a bigger audience so people can understand more about the country and understand the people here.
Alden, I have to say that each of the photo in your journey is incredibly original and powerful, and it's such a treat to people who've never been to Vietnam. And I hope that after this program, they will see and they will come to Vietnam and explore Vietnam themselves. And hopefully they will fall in love with Vietnam just like you. Thank you very much for this sharing today.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. And that has brought us to the end of this edition of Talk Vietnam. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.